Sup? Thought to get myself a nice little beer situation for this video. I feel like this has been a big buildup. I don't know why. I just feel like it's been a big buildup, and a lot of people have been. They keep asking me this question. Now this question. One sec. Ah, that's good. Ah, I needed that. Now this question is something that has been asked to me almost every day that I've been streaming since January of 2018. When I finally introduced something that had never been seen before on Twitch. Let's check it out. You ready? I'm talking an automatic system that rotates my camera as we are live. I'm talking a 4K DSLR that is slowly rotating in the apartment, slowly moving around. When have you ever seen this? Nobody's seen this. All right? You think it's just gonna like go somewhere? No, turn it on back, go back. That's what I'm talking about, chat. That's bringing the cinematic quality again to the Twitch.tv universe. I brought the 4K camera. Now it's time to upgrade and bring in more production elements. Why not? Why not? So I introduced that back in January of 2018. Over the course of the last like 2 years or 2.5 years or whatnot, I've talked to a few people about what it is and what the types of devices you can find online to achieve this effect. But anyways, I've talked to numerous people, including someone like Dr. Lupo that maybe some of you guys know over on Twitch, and some other people as well. But they wanted to adopt this sense of camera movement, and I've always kind of held on to it just because it's been my thing, right? I started out using the 4K camera on Twitch, and then eventually I upgraded and stepped it up to a moving camera because people slowly started adopting mirrorless cameras and whatnot. So today I am telling you guys all about my moving camera, which I used to call Marquita. It's a running joke because I used to say like, hey, yeah, one of my moving, the way it moves is I have a woman that stands behind the camera and she's draped in a black attire and she sits there and moves the camera all day. I pay her in pizza and housing. That was the running joke for a long time, and it's still kind of funny. But you know, today I'm happy to show you guys what exactly I'm using and what you can look at in terms of pricing and what types of features are available from different companies and whatnot, and what you can kind of get here. So without further ado, I'm going to get right on into how I get my camera to move at a constant rate while also panning and keeping me center frame with this video. There's a couple more steps, okay? It's kind of like giving out your secret sauce, you know what I mean? When it comes to selecting a camera moving device called a slider, these are motorized sliders, and literally the easiest way you can find what you're looking for is to go over to Amazon or anywhere online and type in motorized slider. And if you do that, you're going to get a bunch of results. Let's take a look. When you type in motorized slider, you are going to see a bunch of different types of sliders here, and they range from all kinds of prices. Now, Amazon usually has the best deals in terms of the cheaper side of things that get the job done, and that's actually what I'm using right now. But there are other companies like Eldercrone here that also offer sliders at a much higher price point, and that's because of what they put into their pieces of gear. Now, they have sliders, and they have motorized sliders that also have moving heads and moving components that all sync to each other to be able to use maybe your phone to control everything and have it all moving all together and all in sync, and it looks really nice. But you're going to be spending a pretty penny to get something like that. So if I go check out their bundle and save, you can actually save by purchasing more gear. That's kind of a normal thing. But if I scroll down, you can already start to take a look at what kind of price points we're getting here. I mean, for just a standard small slider that maybe moves left and right, you're looking at something like $800, and that's a kind of a small slider right there. Now, there are other options out there too. There are longer sliders. There are different ways to move the camera, maybe tilting and panning, as well as maybe you want to Dutch the camera, and you might be able to add another axis in there to really take it to the next level. But to get something that's like everything that you could potentially want, I mean, you're looking at close to $3,500 to $4,000, and to get something similar to what I have here, you're looking at, you know, I got a longer slider, so something in the ballpark of, you know, $1,200 if you're going to buy from a company like Eldachrome. Now, they make some cool gear, but I'll explain why I don't go with something like Eldachrome versus what I got here in my office, as well as I have two of them. One's smaller, one's a little bit bigger, but I'll get into it. So let's go back over to Amazon. Now, when I take a look here at Amazon, there's a lot of different things here, and they all look relatively the same. Now, why would you choose one over the other? And that comes down to a key feature that I want to talk about actually right now. I was going to save it for the end. I'm going to talk about it right now. Now, I've brought this up in the past on my live streams and maybe potentially in another video, but what I want to tell you guys is that when you go to purchase a product, when you go to purchase something that you're using in a professional environment, you can't always rely on products that make you use like an application to use the device. And if that's the only means of connection to your device, that's gonna potentially make you look bad if your connection ever goes down, you drop your phone, you break it, you lock it, whatever. I don't know, man, but you don't want to rely on phone apps to get the job done when you can have something analog in your possession to get the job done. You want to be able to have a fallback solution. Now, these sliders all come with a remote, much similar to this one right here, and I know it's kind of hard to see because it's in black, but really simple remote, man. It's got a little USB on the top here. It's got a power connection on the bottom. It's got a quarter 20 threaded thing, and then also comes a little strap so I can hang it on something if I really want to. What this allows you to do is it gives you an analog version to operate the slider, and that way you guys are able to not have to rely upon an application to get the job done. Now, this thing will take power from your wall outlet, or it'll take a battery, and there are multiple different types of batteries out there. You can see I got all these three right here. Now, it takes Sony NP batteries, and that's what these batteries are, and you can see I have a couple here from the company Gvm, which is where I actually got some of my sliders here. So great video maker on Amazon. Two nice little batteries. I got this little small one here. I got this little bigger one here. So if I go ahead and just slap that on there, and now it's on there. I got a little power switch on the back. Turn it on. Now it's on, and now it's trying to, you know, you got to connect it to the slider. But, you know, still, this offers me a connection to my slider without having to rely upon my phone wirelessly transmitting a signal. You don't want to rely on your phone when you're in a professional environment. As soon as that application goes down, as soon as anything goes wrong, you're going to be known as the guy that brought that piece of gear that he couldn't set up. Now, to exacerbate the problem here, if you're getting a rental on that piece of gear, now sometimes I work on a job and I'll bring in my gear, and if that gear's not working, oh boy, they're going to be upset that they're paying for you to have that gear on set. Now, when it comes to streaming, it doesn't matter, dude. Nobody cares that my slider maybe doesn't work on a day, or you know, my other slider that I have, which I actually have sitting right here, and I'll go over this one here in a minute. But basically, it doesn't matter when you're streaming, but unless you really want to keep it professional and you don't want to have any issues, and maybe you don't want to have tech support, and if you're always having tech problems, if every day you're using Eldachrome's app and it's not connecting, and you're like, oh, here goes activator again, trying to connect this thing and it's not working, it's going to make you look bad over time, and it's going to drive you nuts. All right, so let's go back on over to Amazon. Let's keep looking at some of these gears, and let's go talk about each one and what their strengths and weaknesses are. Now, there's a lot of options here, and all these are different companies. You got Newer, you got GVM, you got all these random companies, and some of them are more known than others. I personally use GVM, but if I saw something from Newer, I would 100% jump on that deal. So if you guys actually want to see the one that I'm using, it is this one right here. It's the Gvm Motorized Slider. It's a 4-foot slider. And the reason I went with this one is because it is all metal. It is aluminum up the wazoo, and that's because I know sliders, and I know when you're on a slider and it gets to the end of the track and it starts getting a little heavy on the end of the track, because usually people have their tripods in the middle of their slider. This thing is a 4-foot slider. If I have it on a tripod or a stand and that camera starts to go over here, the whole thing is gonna dip down and start to bend and stuff. So I go with the strong industrial aluminum over the carbon fiber, which we're going to see here in just a moment. Now, this one ended up costing me about $400 when it was brand new. You can see it's about $369 right now, but if you shop around, you might be able to find a deal. Inside these things, you usually get yourselves a nice assortment of gear. It comes in usually a carrying case. Little fact, my cat actually found this case and he peed on it. I don't know what it was, but he smelled something in here and he peed on it. I was very upset. So also coming in here, you get a couple different things. You get a battery, you get a charger, you get that remote that I showed you guys just a few minutes ago. You also get the cable that connects from the device, the little remote here, to the slider. And then you get a couple of extra adapters here to work with time lapses, because with some DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, you can actually hook up a little cable and set a timer for how often your camera is taking photos, but it's also going to be connected to the device, which is going to make you able to do a nice long time lapse while your camera slowly moves from one side to the other. So if I continue looking around here, you can actually see that there's a couple adjusting knobs, there's whatnot, all this kind of good stuff. Now, what does all this do? Why does this matter? We got the motor. I'll get to that in just a minute. But what's cool about these sliders is that it does have an adjustable third rail. Usually sliders have two rails. You got the main rail in the front, main rail in the back, and then wheels to slide along that path, right? But I'm here to show you guys that actually these sliders come with a third rail, and that third rail is actually linked to something on the other side of this little contraption here. Now, underneath these, there's actually another wheel on the underside of this little connection spot where you put your camera and whatnot. And when I rotate these to a different angle, it looks at where that wheel is, and then it tries to keep it centered. You can kind of see right now that it's actually spinning this. I know you can't see it. I'll show you. Take a look at this video. You have this device in the center that while it's going, it's going to force move the center of the camera holding spot, the little quarter 20 threaded screw that comes out, and it's going to force it to turn one way or the other. Now, this thing will offer a bunch of different types of ways to shoot. And I'm going to show you guys here that you can shoot this with looking outwards and kind of doing a giant arc where the camera is doing a nice long panorama shot. You can also have it where it's kind of like what my camera is doing right now, how it's like slowly staying on me, but it's fixated and it's rotating around me. You can have that position, or you can just have the standard stock slide left to right with no camera pan and just be one and done. You don't have to worry about the camera moving. And maybe that's something for, I don't know, other types of shots that you're trying to get. So with the panorama shot, you get 120 degrees worth of panning. Now, this could vary from slider to slider, but you can kind of see that you can take this nice long panoramic, picture or video. And if you've ever used the little panorama feature on your phone, it's kind of similar to that if you choose it to be that way. But then you also have the opposite, and you have the tracking shot, which always focuses to a point. Now, it does take some fine adjusting here. And if I take this thing, it takes me a while to kind of figure out how far out the subject is, and I gotta dial it in and get everything all nice and perfect before the camera's actually perfectly rotating around the center of a subject, because the center point could be way out there, it could be right here in front of you, it could be right here where my hand is. It could change all the time, so you want to make sure that where it's rotating is set and good to go. So it takes some time to adjust. But then if you don't care to do that, you also got just a straight left and right with no panning of the camera. So just like that, here's your option. Now, what I ended up doing is I ended up using a little ball mount adapter. You can see they have one right here, and I ended up putting this on top of my sliders, and that way I'm able to sit there and really adjust where my camera's looking. My camera's sitting on top, and if I still have it in the rotating fashion here, you can see it's going to sit there and it's going to rotate as it moves left and right. Now, again, I could adjust this so if I set it to the center, it'll just stay there and it'll just allow me to slide left and right. So this little tiny ball adapter, if I loosen it up, it's going to allow me to tilt my camera however I want. So that way, if I am setting this camera up somewhere like I have in front of me, I can tilt it down, and I can have it up high and look down at me, or I can have it down low and look up at me. So just keep in mind that you can get a ball mount adapter to mount the camera on there. Now, you could also just mount the camera directly on this platform, but then it's only going to go left and right, and then you'll have to adjust everything else by the height of your slider. You know what I mean? So this is the actual slider that I've been using for a long time. And if I back out of this one, let's go and take a look at the other ones. So here we have another one. This one's a little bit cheaper. It looks like we're saving about 50 bucks, but an extra 20 bucks off if you actually go with this. But you're using some nice carbon fiber rods. Now, the reason usually people get carbon fiber is to make it lightweight. But for me, I feel like it flexes a little too much, and it's not really for me. I think it works, but also it's just not really what I like. Now, this one has a battery mounted on the side, whereas this other one, it was actually just the motor sitting right here, and the battery gets mounted to the hand unit. So if I go back to this one here, you can see that it is adjusted it's all contained to the slider itself, but it looks like you're controlling everything via an application. I told you what I do and don't like about the application and why I choose to not use it, but maybe for you, it's going to be okay. If I go ahead and move on to the next one, we have another one here. Now this one takes 2 batteries, and it looks like the motor might be inside this little contraption down here inside this unit. So what's cool about this one is that it has a wireless capability. So if you do want the functionality of using an app and having it be wireless, this is an option for you where you can use this little tiny remote down at the bottom of your screen, and that'll connect to the slider itself, and the batteries are already on there, and everything's looking quite nice. Now you also got to keep in mind the size of slider that you're looking to get. This one is 31 inches. I like long sliders, and that gives me a lot of flexibility later on. If I ever choose to move my slider and I want a lot of movement on it, I can use this one and get a lot of movement. But I also have that little tiny one I just showed you, and that's going to allow me to do these little smaller moves, or maybe I can put that on my desk and do like a little keyboard slider move or something like that. You know what I mean? You know, for the most part, this slider doesn't stop moving. I'm always having this thing running, and that's just because it usually takes like 30 to 50 seconds-ish to really like set my start point, set my end point, turn it on to looping mode, and dial in my percentage of how fast I want it to move. So I usually just let this one run. However, I've had issues in the past where these remotes failed on me, and I thought it was actually the motor, but these remotes failed on me. And what I ended up doing is I ended up having to buy a new remote, but I tried to replace the motor. I didn't know it was the remote, but it was the remote's fault. Granted, they do sell these remotes on their website, so GVM has a lot to offer. So, but for my smaller slider, I actually set that up every single morning, and that's usually my overhead view camera to like see my space in my room. And now that this video is live, I can finally start to show the rest of my setup, which has been so annoying because I've always tried to like position my cameras and never really show the slider because I never wanted to show anybody my secrets. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to show off my secrets, but here I am showing off my secrets for you guys because so many guys asked about it. This one doesn't have that middle track, meaning it's only going to go left to right. It is not going to oscillate left and right or pan or do a panoramic shot or a tracking shot. So be mindful when you're looking at these things that it has that third rail. If it has that third rail, you're going to get the ability to go ahead and start to turn and pan the camera. So keep that in mind as you shop for these things, if you guys decide to shop for these things. Now, I love this thing, man. I think it's super unique to streaming, and it's kind of cool for the viewer to kind of always see something happening in the background. So instead of having a be right back screen, you know, my camera's just constantly moving and keeping the viewer maybe interested in just the frame moving on its own. Now, I like me some cinematography, so if I can ever do something kind of unique and cool, I try. That's it. That's all I wanted to share with you guys today. And I appreciate you guys sitting here and watching and finally getting to see exactly what I'm using here. And coming up soon, I'm going to be making a whole setup reveal where I'll go through all my gear all in one video and do a nice little tour of my stream setups just so I can show off. You know what I mean? My whole thing here is to give my knowledge to you guys and allow you guys to maybe get some ideas that you can use for your own streams. I'll catch you guys in the next one. You know, like and subscribe if you want to. There's no pressure, man. You are your own boss. You can choose to do whatever you want, okay? Now, if you ever want to come talk to me, I'm over on Discord, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, and Twitch. You can find me at Twitch Activator or Activator on any of those platforms, so go take a look. I also have some links down below to my socials. Go join the Discord, dude. We have a whole technical support section just for you guys that have issues with any of your gear or streaming or anything like that. If you have any questions, hit me up, DM me if you're too... You know, if you don't want to talk in a crowd, go ahead and send me a DM and I'll try to help you out, all right? I'll respond to everything down in the messages down below. So if you guys have any extra questions on top of this video, feel free to comment down below, dude, and I'll get to you. I get to all comments, unless they're not, I don't know, unless they're just kind of random and I don't think that it would be smart to answer. There's a lot of bots out there, you know what I'm saying? And don't be a bot. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Again,